Chambers for holding this event. You may know me. I'm your current state representative, Jonathan Jordan. I've served since 2010. I've been very honored to have been elected to do so. I'm reapplying for another term based on my record and my record of service and promises made, promises kept. My two children attend the local public schools, so education is a very important issue to me, regardless of what you hear every single election time. I'm often criticized for election spending, even though we've put more into education this year than ever before in North Carolina. In fact, $700 million just this year alone. I have a law practice in Jefferson where I help people buy homes and land and help draft wills to protect their futures and their families. When I first ran for office, we were facing the effects of the worst recession since the Great Depression. We were facing billions of dollars in a hole, funding holes. We owed the federal government. We owed all kinds of local issues, state issues. Unemployment had reached ridiculous levels. The previous administration, instead of spending priorities and reducing the budget, something that every one of our families had to do during that time, instead increased our dependence on federal funds, which ran out. And they also increased taxes, $1 billion in new taxes. In fact, every kind of tax they could increase, that's what they did. And if my opponent's party takes back over, that's probably the questions they'll be asked. Which tax to increase and how much? We've made a big change. We have made great improvements, and we don't need to go back to the bad old days of higher taxes and excessive spending. We have supported responsible spending that prioritizes public education, strengthens core service to our citizens, and saves for future emergencies and crises, like the hurricane that we just dealt with. We had the funds in savings. That's the first time in a very long time that we've had a savings reserve that we could actually call upon when there's a crisis, when our friends down east are facing the loss of homes and farms and businesses. If you want to continue those good policies, I'd like to help get your support and get your vote for re-election. Thank you.
Next.
Thank you. I want to thank the Chambers for hosting this forum and the supporters here and the supporters listening on the radio. I am Jonathan Jordan. You know me. I've been honored to serve as your representative since 2011. That was a crucial period of economic improvement in North Carolina. With your support, I will continue conservative policies to improve North Carolina's economic and moral health. I've reapplied for the position of your representative because of my record, and I'm pleased to compare my record to any challenger. When I first ran for office, we faced the effects of the worst recession since the Great Depression. Billions of dollars in holes. We had to prioritize spending. Because we made those decisions in our first term, we have been in much better shape than most other states since that time. Statewide employment when I went in was nearly 10%. That was higher than the state average. It's now been cut to less than half. The previous administration, instead of imposing spending priorities, reducing the state budget, things that you and your families had to do during that time, decided to increase our dependence on federal funds and introduce $1 billion in new taxes. All three of the major taxes that can be raised, they did it. If they go back in, if they take back control, then they will continue to do so, and the only questions will be which tax will they raise and how much will they raise it. Putting in the Republican team that you did has improved our state's economic position in a number of key achievements. We've lowered taxes on hardworking North Carolina families and job creators, created more than 500,000 new jobs since I first went in 2011, the largest savings reserve in state history. We invested dramatically more money in education, more than ever been put in there before, including $700 million this year alone. We increased teacher pay for the 5th consecutive year. We've made North Carolina schools safer, $35 million in new school safety initiatives and grant programs. We paid back a $2.8 billion debt to the federal government a year early and have a surplus in our unemployment insurance account. We've reduced regulation every term that I've been in office, given state employees salary increases and the highest minimum wage in history that they've ever had. That's the record on which I'm running. I promise to continue these beneficial policies and more when you support my bid for another term in the North Carolina House. Thank you for your past support and ask for your vote again this election. My name is Jonathan Jordan.
What?